George Russell is playing hardball with Mercedes over a new contract. Lewis Hamilton's move to Ferrari hasn't yielded the results he hoped for, and McLaren's team orders are raising eyebrows across the paddock. Do consider subbing. Let's get into the latest F1 news. So, let's get straight into it. According to reports from outlets like The Mirror, George Russell's future with Mercedes is uncertain. And that's putting it mildly. His current contract expires at the end of the 2025 season. Now, in the fast-moving world of F1, that might seem like a lifetime away, but it's not. Driver negotiations for top seats often begin over a year in advance. But here's the kicker. Toto Wolf is in absolutely no rush to extend Russell's deal. Why? Well, it's not necessarily a reflection on George himself. Wolf has publicly stated that he wants to wait and see how the 2025 driver market unfolds before making any decisions. He's called it a continuous conversation rather than a pressing deadline. But read between the lines, people. This is Toto Wolf, the master strategist, keeping his options wide open. He's essentially put George Russell on notice. So, does George Russell deserve to be on notice? Let's look at the facts. On his day, George is blisteringly fast. We all remember his stunning pole in Hungary and his maiden win in Brazil in 2022. He's a qualifier, a racer, and he has that killer instinct. But 2024 has been a season of extreme volatility. On one hand, he has a podium in Canada and has often been the lead Mercedes car on Saturday. On the other hand, there have been some unforced errors. The massive crash in Monaco, the mistake in Austria while chasing Oscar Piastri, these are moments that stand out. And they stand out even more when you compare his season to his teammates. The teammate. The 7-time world champion, Lewis Hamilton. Now, Lewis is leaving for Ferrari. The narrative for the last 2 years was that George was the heir apparent, the young lion slowly usurping the king. But the 2024 data tells a more complex story. With the pressure of his Ferrari move arguably off, Lewis has been driving like a man possessed. He's been more consistent, and in many races, demonstrably faster. This creates a paradox for Toto. Is George's inconsistency a product of him pushing a difficult car beyond its limits? Or is it a fundamental flaw in his racecraft under pressure? Wolf needs to know what he has in Russell before he decides who to pair him with. This is where it gets really interesting. Toto Wolf isn't just waiting to see if George improves. He's waiting to see who becomes available. His delay is a strategic pause, and he's watching 3 key chess pieces. Piece number 1, Max Verstappen. This is the dream, the moonshot. Wolf has been openly flirting with the idea of luring Max away from Red Bull amidst their internal turmoil. The chance to pair the best driver on the grid with a hopefully resurgent Mercedes in 2026 with the new regulations is too tantalizing to ignore. Signing Russell long-term now could complicate or even preclude that move. Piece number 2, Andrea Kimi Antonelli. This is the future. The 17-year-old Mercedes junior prodigy is tearing up the junior formulas. Wolf is a huge believer. He's fast-tracking Kimi through F2 and has even given him an F1 test in an older Mercedes. Wolf's ideal scenario might be a Verstappen-Antonelli super team for 2026. But if he can't get Max, does he want a seasoned veteran to guide Kimi? Or does he throw Kimi in alongside Russell? He needs time to let Kimi develop and to assess his readiness for the big time. Piece number 3, Carlos Sainz, the most logical and available top-tier driver. Sainz is without a seat for 2025 after being ousted by Lewis Hamilton. He's a race winner, incredibly consistent, and a known quantity. Signing Sainz on a multi-year deal would bring stability and speed. But if Wolf signs Sainz now, he burns the bridge with Verstappen and potentially blocks Antonelli, so he waits. Imagine being George Russell right now. Your legendary teammate is leaving. The team principal is openly talking to your biggest rival. A teenage phenom is waiting in the wings, and your contract is just sitting there, unsigned. This is the ultimate test of mentality. How does George respond? Does he let the pressure get to him, leading to more mistakes? Or does he use it as fuel, channel it, and start delivering those flawless, podium-challenging weekends that we know he's capable of? The second half of 2024 is no longer just about scoring points for Mercedes. For George, it's a 5-month-long job interview. He needs to prove to Toto Wolf, beyond any doubt, that he is not just a good driver, but a future world champion worthy of leading this team into its next era. So, what's the verdict? Is George Russell's seat in real danger? Right now, I'd say he's still the favorite to retain it, but the safety net is gone. Toto Wolff's hesitation is a clear message. Show me more. Mercedes is at a crossroads. The 2026 regulation change is their target for a return to glory. Every decision, the driver lineup, the engine development, the car concept is being made with that date in mind. George Russell is a part of that puzzle, but he's no longer the only piece. Wolff is playing the long game, and he's willing to make ruthless decisions to get back to winning ways. The drama within the Silver Arrows is just as compelling as the action on track. For George Russell, the race for his career is on. And it might just be the most important race of his life. It was the move that shook the world of sport. Lewis Hamilton, Mercedes, Ferrari, words that seemed like they would never belong in the same sentence. The excitement was palpable. The greatest driver of his generation, joining the most iconic team in history. It's a storybook ending, waiting to be written. But what if the first chapter is a brutal reality check? Recent comments from Ferrari team principal Frederic Vasseur have poured cold water on the idea of an instant fairy tale. Today, we're exploring why Lewis Hamilton's first Ferrari podium might be a lot further away than anyone thinks. Let's start with the sobering quotes from Fred Vasseur himself. In a recent interview, he was asked about the prospect of Lewis Hamilton fighting for wins immediately in 2025. His response was telling. He essentially said that F1 doesn't work like that. You don't just click your fingers and find performance. He talked about the 2024 car being a basis for 2025, but emphasized that the development path is long and complex. He managed expectations, saying the goal is to first close the gap to Red Bull, not necessarily to beat them from day one. This is a crucial piece of messaging. Vasseur is a pragmatist. He's not selling dreams to the tifosi, he's managing expectations. He knows that the pressure on Hamilton and the team will be immense, and he's trying to preemptively shield them from the criticism that will inevitably come if they aren't winning immediately. To understand Hamilton's 2025 challenge, we have to look at the 2024 Ferrari, and it's a car of contradictions. On its day, it's the fastest car on the grid. We saw that with Charles Leclerc's stunning wins in Monaco, and, well, actually, that's a key point. The SF24 is a qualifying monster. It loves to put down a single lap. But come race day, it has a crippling weakness: tire degradation. While the Red Bull, and often the McLaren, can make their tires last, the Ferrari chews them up. This means they might start on the front row, but they slowly slide backwards through the race as their performance drops off a cliff. This is the exact opposite of what Lewis Hamilton is used to. The Mercedes, even in its difficult years, has often been kind on its tires. Hamilton's genius has long been his ability to manage tire life better than anyone, eking out extra laps to make strategies work. At Ferrari, he's walking into a team that fundamentally struggles with the core skill he has mastered. Fixing this isn't easy. It's a fundamental characteristic of the car's design philosophy, its aerodynamics, and its suspension. Changing that DNA doesn't happen overnight. Everyone is talking about the car, but they're underestimating the human and technical integration. Lewis Hamilton has been with Mercedes for over a decade. His feedback, his engineering language, his entire way of working is built around the Mercedes system. His race engineer, Peter Bonington Bono, is more than a voice on the radio. He's a strategic partner. Now, Hamilton has to start from zero. New engineers, a new language, a new simulator, new procedures, a new factory culture. It will take months for him to build the same level of trust and understanding with his new team. And during that time, his teammate, Charles Leclerc, will have the home field advantage. Leclerc is embedded at Ferrari. He knows everyone, and everyone knows him. He's the number one in everything but name. Can you imagine the headlines if, in the first few races of 2025, Leclerc is out-qualifying and out-racing Hamilton? The pressure will be astronomical. This isn't like moving to a new team in any other sport. It's like a concert pianist having to learn to play a completely different, slightly broken-in instrument in front of 1 billion people every 2 weeks. Here's another harsh reality. Ferrari's focus for 2025 will already be split. The elephant in the room is the massive 2026 regulation change. This is a complete overhaul of the cars and, crucially, the power units. Every top team will soon be shifting the majority of its resources and its best engineers to the 2026 project. That means the 2025 car will likely be an evolution of the 2024 car, not a revolution. The scope for Ferrari to make the radical changes needed to fix its tire-eating nature might be limited because their top minds are working on the future. So Hamilton might be joining at a time when the team is already looking past him, towards a new era. His first year could be spent in a car that is fundamentally flawed, with limited resources to change it. His job in 2025 might not be to win races, but to be the ultimate development driver, using his vast experience to help guide the 2026 car. It's a vital role, but it's not the glory role he signed up for. So, does this mean the Hamilton-Ferrari move is doomed? Absolutely not. But it reframes the narrative. This isn't a switch for instant success. It's a long-term project. It's a legacy play. Hamilton is going to Ferrari to build something. The fairy tale isn't winning in his first race in red. The fairy tale is overcoming these immense challenges, helping to steer the Scuderia back to the top, and claiming that record-breaking 8th title against all odds in 2026 or beyond. It's a harder, longer, and more difficult path, but for a driver who has nothing left to prove, perhaps the ultimate proof of his greatness would be to succeed where so many other legends have stumbled. The podium will come. But first, he and Ferrari have a mountain to climb. Red Bull Racing. For the past 3 years, they've been an unstoppable force, a perfectly drilled machine of dominance. But behind the scenes, a war has been raging. The internal power struggle that erupted earlier this year is far from over. In fact, according to insiders like Nico Rosberg and David Croft, it's now manifesting on the racetrack, and it's creating a shocking power shift within the team itself. This is the story of Christian Horner versus Laurent Mekies, and how a battle in the boardroom is costing Red Bull on the stopwatch. First, we need to understand the key players. In this corner, Christian Horner, the long-standing team principal and CEO of Red Bull Racing. He's the face of the team, a formidable political operator, and the architect of their success. He has the backing of the Thai majority owners, and in this corner, we have Laurent Mekies, the team principal of Visa Cash App RB, the sister team. But he's far more than that. Mekies is a key ally of Helmut Marko and, crucially, the Verstappen camp. He's a highly respected technical and strategic mind who used to work at Ferrari. The conflict isn't personal, it's structural. It's about control. The controversy surrounding Christian Horner earlier this year created a deep fracture in the Red Bull empire. It pitted the parent company, Red Bull GmbH in Austria, against the Thai ownership of the race team. This led to a power struggle where figures like Helmut Marko were almost ousted. Mekies represents the Austrian faction, the side that has traditionally been loyal to Dietrich Mateschitz's vision and is fiercely protective of Max Verstappen. Here's where it gets tactical. Red Bull has always had a unique advantage: 2 teams. For years, Scuderia Toro Rosso, now V-Carb, acted as a pure junior team, a testing ground for young drivers and new parts. The relationship was clear. The senior team leads, the junior team follows. But under Laurent Mekies, that dynamic is changing. As reported, Mekies is increasingly operating V-Carb as an independent entity. He's making aggressive hiring moves, poaching top technical talent from the senior team. He's pursuing his own development path. He's no longer content to just be a feeder team. This is a direct challenge to Christian Horner's authority. Horner's model relies on a hierarchical structure. Makeys is creating a federated one. This internal competition for resources, talent, and even track position is sapping the overall strength of the Red Bull empire. They're no longer fighting just Mercedes and McLaren, they're fighting each other. This isn't just corporate gossip. This is having a real, measurable impact on the track. And pundits like Nico Rosberg and David Croft are pointing it out. 1. The development war. Instead of pooling resources to catch up to McLaren and Mercedes, the two Red Bull teams are diverting resources to compete with each other. VCarb is developing its own parts, meaning the senior team doesn't get the benefit of their data. There's a duplication of effort. It's inefficient, and it's slowing down Red Bull Racing's progress. 2. The strategy clash. We're seeing this play out in races. There have been moments where VCarb has refused to yield easily to the senior team, forcing them into difficult strategic choices or even costing them time. This lack of coordination is a gift to their rivals. Number 3. The morale drain. The constant internal politics are a distraction. Engineers and mechanics are reading the headlines. The leadership is focused on internal battles rather than external ones. This creates an atmosphere of uncertainty and drains the focused winning mentality that made them so dominant. And looming over all of this is the most important man in Formula One, Max Verstappen. Max's loyalty lies with Helmut Marko and the Austrian faction. He has a strong relationship with Laurent Mekies. The increasing autonomy of VCarb and the weakening of Christian Horner's position strengthen Verstappen's hand within the organization. If Verstappen ever felt truly unhappy, he now knows an entire sister team with serious technical capability that is aligned with his interests. This internal power shift makes the unthinkable of Verstappen move away from Red Bull Racing slightly more conceivable, because he wouldn't necessarily be leaving the Red Bull family entirely. He could, in theory, have a safe harbor next door. The great Roman proverb rings true: divide and conquer. Only in this case, Red Bull is dividing itself, and it's their rivals who are conquering. The once impenetrable fortress of Red Bull Racing has cracks in its walls, and they're coming from within. The battle between Christian Horner and the Makeys, divided by Marko, divided by Verstappen axis, is no longer a behind-the-scenes drama. It's a technical and strategic reality that is costing them points, wins, and potentially their long-term dominance. For the sake of the championship, they need to find a truce. But based on the current evidence, this civil war is only just beginning. McLaren has been the feel-good story of the 2024 season. Their incredible turnaround from the back of the midfield to regular race winners has been phenomenal. But with great speed comes great responsibility and a new, thorny problem. What to do with two blisteringly fast drivers who are both capable of winning? At the Austrian Grand Prix, McLaren faced this dilemma and made a call that driver George Russell called strange. Today, we're dissecting the team orders debate, what it means for Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, and why it could be the biggest challenge McLaren faces on their road back to the title. Let's set the scene. The Austrian Grand Prix. McLaren is fast, arguably the fastest car on track. Oscar Piastri qualifies a superb second, ahead of his teammate Lando Norris. In the race, after the final round of pit stops, Piastri finds himself in third place, but he's on the newer, faster, soft compound tire. Norris is ahead in second, but on the older, more worn medium tire, and he's struggling to pass George Russell for the lead. Piastri is clearly faster. He catches the battling duo of Norris and Russell rapidly. He's told by his team to hold position. He's asked not to attack his teammate. The McLaren pit wall essentially freezes the order, prioritizing protecting a 2-3 finish over unleashing their fastest driver to potentially challenge for the win. Russell goes on to win the race, with Norris second and Piastri a frustrated third. From a pure, cold, points-maximizing perspective, McLaren's decision is defensible. Here's why. 1. Risk mitigation. The biggest fear for any team is their two drivers taking each other out. If Piastri had been allowed to attack Norris, it could have ended in tears. A desperate move, a lockup, a collision. We've seen it happen countless times. Hello, Turkey 2010. A double DNF would have been a catastrophe, turning a certain 33-point haul into 0. They guaranteed a big points finish. 2. Championship math. At that point in the season, Lando Norris was ahead of Oscar Piastri in the Drivers' Championship and was seen as the more likely title challenger to Max Verstappen. From a team perspective, it makes sense to prioritize the driver with the best mathematical chance. Letting them race could have allowed Russell to escape, or even let a Ferrari sneak into the mix. 3. Team harmony The theory. The team likely believed that enforcing the order would prevent a post-race fallout. They avoided a potential "he took my win" scenario by making the decision for them. It was a safe, conservative call. Now, let's look at why George Russell and many fans found the call strange and frankly wrong. 1. Sacrificing the win. This is the biggest criticism. McLaren had the fastest car on the track at that moment, and it was Oscar Piastri. He was the one on the right tire to attack Russell. By holding him back, they not only denied Piastri a shot at his second win, but they also denied McLaren a shot at the win. They chose a guaranteed 2-3 over a possible 1-2 or 1-3. In the quest to maximize points, they may have left the maximum points on the table. 2. The message it sends. What does this tell Oscar Piastri? The young Australian has been phenomenally quick and loyal. The message seems to be, you are the number 2 driver. Even when you are faster, on a better strategy, your job is to support your teammate. This can be deeply demoralizing and could plant the seed for future discontent. 3. Killing the killer instinct. Formula One is won by aggressive, winning teams. Red Bull's success is built on a culture of absolute performance. By making such a conservative call, McLaren risks cultivating a culture of good enough rather than we must win. They had a chance to unleash a pit bull and instead put it on a leash. This one incident is a microcosm of a much bigger problem McLaren will face again and again: the driver dynamic. Lando Norris is the established star. He's been there for years. He's loved by the team and the fans. Oscar Piastri is the generational talent, the rookie who is already matching and often beating the established star. This is a potential Hamilton-Rosberg level rivalry in the making. McLaren must decide what kind of team they want to be. Do they want to back a clear number 1 driver, Norris, and ask Piastri to play a support role? Or do they embrace a full, ferocious intra-team battle, accepting the risks that come with it? The first option risks alienating a future world champion. The second option risks on-track incidents and team turmoil. There is no easy answer. The strange call in Austria was more than just a strategic error. It was a revelation of McLaren's current mindset. They are still thinking like a team trying to secure podiums, not like a team destined to win championships. To beat Red Bull and Mercedes, you need to be ruthless. You need to trust your drivers to race hard but fairly. You need to go for the win every single time. By not unleashing Oscar Piastri, McLaren showed they still have a final mental hurdle to clear. They have built a championship-winning car. Now, they need to develop a championship-winning mentality. How they handle the Norris-Piastri rivalry from here on out will define their next decade. What would you have done if you were the McLaren team principal? Hold position or let them race? Debate it in the comments. If you want more deep dives into F1's toughest dilemmas, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.